Mortgage Insiders. Alina, how are you?
Well, good. Good morning. Good afternoon.
That's it. That's it. So after a great episode last week where you announced that Messi had just joined the MLS soccer team in Florida, we see more news,
Mhm.
right? We see that a project that we've talked about that you've brought to the attention of our viewers. Is it the Porsche building? Is that what it's called? The Porsche building?
It is a Porsche building. It's located in Sunny Isles, oceanfront property. I just sent you the address of the property, and
Okay.
I also sent you Instagram link on the pictures of the
Let's see.
condominium. Yes,
Yeah,
of the
let's bring
apartment
that up.
that Messi purchased. I have a lot of friends living in this building, so
That's
he
amazing.
is gonna be he's gonna be very annoyed by a bunch of people trying to get his
Well,
signature.
hey, who knows? Maybe you'll become friends. Maybe your friends become friends, and then you'll become friends, and then I, through proxy, will become friends too.
Well, I need to start taking Spanish lessons.
Hey, I know. You know, it's interesting. I get a lot of Spanish calls from Florida. I guess it makes sense. There's a huge Spanish influx over there, but even down in like Orlando, a lot of my leads are coming in and they're Spanish speaking. That's just gorgeous.
You should get a Spanish speaking assistant. That's how I resolved my problem.
Yeah. You know, I should say, I spoke intermediate Spanish. I haven't, if you don't
This
use it,
is
you lose it, you know. Go ahead,
this is
talk.
the restaurant. You just changed it. So let me tell you a little bit
Yeah.
about the building, and remind people that maybe saw our previous episode.
Yep.
So this building, as I mentioned, is oceanfront Porsche, and the name of the Porsche is not just because it's a beautiful name. It's the only building in the United States and only few buildings in the world that has a car elevator that brings your apartment brings your car right to your apartment. So
Wow.
let's say you live on the 40th floor, you go on this elevator, you push the bottom. I don't know how that works because I've never been inside this elevator. And then it brings you up, and you have this glass where you can see your car right from your apartment. And
Wow, that's
then the
amazing.
same thing, you go inside your garage and go down with the
Oh,
car to the lobby level. So they're gonna build a second building in Sunny Isles as well. The name is Bentley. I mentioned this property. I think this condominium as well. That will have the same concept, but just different brand name
wow.
and
That's
union building.
That's phenomenal. Now, it's a silly question here, but is there one elevator port for the cars? Or is there multiple elevator ports? Meaning, if somebody else wants to get their car down to the bottom, am I waiting?
Good question. I think that it's a couple of them because you live on a different line as well. I was trying to take pictures and videos of this elevator, and the gentleman that works in the front desk, he said that I'm not allowed to do it. I don't know why.
Oh,
I saw so many pictures and videos of this elevator, but for some
yeah.
reason they don't allow to do it.
Well,
Weird,
when
weird.
Messi will get you access to it. Don't worry.
Well, I have a couple friends living in this condominium,
Yep.
and I always look when I see big stars buying apartments, and I'm thinking how they're gonna live because you have neighbors. It's
Yeah.
you go downstairs, they're all staring at you. So most of the big stars, they prefer to live in a single family houses.
Hmm.
But this particular building, it allows you to go on your car and go right to your apartment. So if you don't want to see people, it's not like you have to valet your car, then you have to
Sure.
walk to the elevator and then people staring at you. So that's not the case. If you don't want to have any audience, you just go straight to your apartment and
No,
use
that's
the car elevator.
well. That you bring a great point because for the celebrities that want to just go straight to their unit and don't want to be bothered, or high
Mhm.
profile individuals that maybe aren't celebrities, that gives them a great
Mhm.
advantage. Just pull the car in and good to go.
Yeah.
Especially knows you're exiting the
Yeah.
building. Again, you're not waiting for the valet. You're in your car. Windows are up, and you're
Yeah.
zooming away. So this is the restaurant inside the building. Is that what I'm looking at here?
This is the restaurant. You cannot walk in if you're not the resident. They're not gonna allow you. So
Okay.
this restaurant is only for the residents.
Wow.
Then you can book this area for your private events as well, and then you can call them. They will make food for you and bring it upstairs.
Oh, that's great.
I love the food. It's great. The restaurant is nice. So we celebrated, actually, I think we celebrated last New Year or the New Year before there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a friend that owns 2 apartments there. The beautiful part also of the Porsche building,
Uh-huh.
lots of lines facing the ocean, have a jacuzzi right on the balcony,
Oh, wow.
and it's very nice.
That's gorgeous. So his was
And
9.6 million. What is the average person trying to get into this going to pay? Are they all going to be the high millions, or?
I mean, you have to get into this property, like, let's say average $6-7 million. Yes, depending on the property, but that number will let you buy a nice property. Then we have 1-level properties and 2-level properties. So it also to taste. Some people don't like the stairs. Some people love the idea of the double ceilings.
How far is that listing you have where you can build it out yourself? The condo.
That's a good question. Ocean 3 is a couple blocks away. If you look at the address, this one is 1855 Collins Avenue, and mine is 1891 Collins Avenue. So it's super close. It's a couple houses.
And that one we're just over 2.6 to get in, and then you're going to build it.
No, it's 3.6.
Oh, 3.6.
And you are putting another 1.2. So you are, let's say, at 4.8.
4.8, and you're valeting your car instead of pulling into your living room.
You don't have to valet your car. You have self-parking there. You want to valet it, you can valet it. You want to self-park, there's 2 self-parking.
Very nice.
So it's depends on, if you feel like valet it, you can, because it's free. Some of the buildings don't have a free valet. This one does.
Now, there's something else I wanted to show. I saw this today.
Oh, yes.
Tell me what the Coral Gables Foundation is, and looks like Ray's your boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
Looks like you and Ray donated and are a member of this. So talk to me a little bit about it. It seems like a good community thing, which I value. So please enlighten our audience.
I can speak day and night about all cities in Miami-Dade County, but my heart is with Coral Gables. I'm in love with the city. I think that the city is doing a great job, and especially the community, like Coral Gables Community Foundation does a phenomenal job by making people united, by helping different levels and different areas of the city. So, for instance, Coral Gables Community Foundation has a scholarship program for kids that can't afford going to the college. And surprisingly, even though Coral Gables is a rich city, that's, I would say, 6 or 70%. I can't give you the exact number of kids that go to Coral Gables High. They having social support, financial social support, and they have food stamps. What it means that the families of those kids are below the average financial level. So why? Because Coral Gables High School also have kids going from outside of Coral Gables, and that's where you're getting those numbers. So this community helps to get kids scholarship. That they have scholarship for artists. They have different beautiful exhibitions. It's a great community that does does a great job in the city of Coral Gables. Mary
really
Snow is the lady on the left side. You will see her. She helps to organize everything, and she's the head of the foundation.
How long have you been a member of it?
Great. A couple of years.
Okay.
And Ray actually started his own art fund.
Oh.
So he's donating money to local artists that need
Inside
fund for
inside of
exhibition.
the right here. Is this it right here?
Preferable. That's
Yeah,
right.
very nice.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Yeah, this is the first year we opened this fund, and he got over 100 applications. That was
Wow.
very impressive. We didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And they make difference in this.
No, that's awesome. Well, keep up the good work on that. That's really good to see. Appreciate people that communicate to the community and help children out and help improve their future. We definitely need that. So congrats on that. That's huge.
Yeah.
So all right. So what other every week you surprise us with your knowledge of the neighborhoods. Do we have anything exciting to talk about this week?
I was so busy with thinking about Messi and him moving to Porsche building that I didn't really think deep enough about the neighborhood. But I have a lot asking me a question: what is unincorporated? What is unincorporated? And I would like to speak about the word. Me with my Russian accent will be speaking about the word unincorporated. So if you look at the Miami-Dade County, you will see a lot of little small cities. So a lot of people, and it's very confusing because when you hear word Miami, you think, oh, Miami. No, Miami is, there are two things. Miami is a county and Miami is the city. And Miami as a city is not the South Beach, because South Beach is Miami Beach. It's a different city. So you're looking at Miami Beach. If you look at the shore, at the east part, almost like an island. You look at Miami Beach, Surfside, Bal Harbor, Sunny Isles, Golden Beach. Then you go west and you look at Miami Shores. You look at Coral Gables, Pinecrest, South Miami. So we have a lot of cities. And then there's very areas, and they are like a spots on the map here and there and here and there. And it's Miami unincorporated. What is Miami unincorporated? Well, it's areas in Miami-Dade County that don't belong to any city. So they kind of like left alone, like, like a little kids that parents left them.
Well, that's not uncommon. That's not uncommon in other cities. So you guys are unique because you have a bunch of cities clustered together. But for example, if you look at where I'm from, Sacramento originally, you have Sacramento County and you have the city of Sacramento. Outside of that, if you're outside the city limits, all of that stuff was the county, which would be unincorporated, unless you had these other little cities that popped up like Elk Grove, Laguna. And these are all at the point where towns, but still under the county jurisdiction. And then once they actually became a city, then they were incorporated. So to your point, you guys just happen to have a lot of clustered together, but typically in city and county, that's not uncommon at all.
What we have, because we have a high density, so it's not like in the middle of the mountains, right? So we have city of Miami goes, and then across the street is unincorporated, 3 blocks. And then it goes like Miami Shores. And it's a lot of confusion especially for people that don't live in Miami, and even people that live in Miami, but they're moving from one area to another one. So how you can figure out where you're buying? You have to look at the folio and see first 2 numbers. The first 2 numbers is going to be the code of your city. So if it starts with 30, that's unincorporated. What it means for you? Well, there's a positive things and there's a negative things. Let's start from positive. Let's say you want to buy a vacation rental property and operate as short-term rent. So cities create different regulations, and then you have to be under regulation of the city and the county. In this case, and a lot of city put a restriction on vacation rental. and they say, well, we don't allow it, like Miami Beach, like Sunny Isles, right? Especially in the single family houses. Once you in unincorporated, you have a green light, because now you have no city to regulate. So you don't have the city, do whatever you want to under county regulation. County regulation is much more simple, even in the cities that allow vacation rental, but they require you to get the license. The license process is much harder than in Miami-Dade County. So you have much easier way to get into this business. That's the first thing. Second,
I imagine, I'm sorry to cut you off, but let's to that one point. I imagine people that are looking to get into short-term rentals, right on the border, the closest you can to the beach or the destination points, but on the border between unincorporated and incorporated, I'd imagine the values are a little bit higher, or you see at least more transactions there for people trying to get into this.
It's interesting because when it was a pandemic and people started buying, they really wanted to invest in vacation rental in South Florida. You can see the increase of demand in this area, is in unincorporated area. I will get a calls, and the first thing, people that know what they're doing, they're asking, are you unincorporated? So I mean, they were probably lazy to go and check the folio, but that was a very common question.
You said check the, I hear folio. Is that what you're saying?
Folio, it's like, when you have your social security and that's your number, it belongs to you, it doesn't belong to anyone else. And then people can, not people, but institution can recognize you by this number. So any apartments, property, lot have its own folio. This is like the passport.
So it's not an APN number, or is that, do you guys use APNs over there?
Folio, I don't know.
Folio. Where would they look at? Is there a website they go to check that?
You go, there are two options to find it. You go to the property, Miami-Dade property appraisal website, or you go to search for properties in tax search.
Okay.
And then you can find the folio.
Great.
And it cannot be changed. That's the number that belongs to this particular lot or this particular apartment. And by this folio, it's almost like a code, so you can see what city it is in, what area it is in. So, and the second thing, which is very important, especially in such a high interest, so people trying to save anywhere possible and impossible. When you in Miami-Dade unincorporated, you don't pay city tax.
That's a great point.
Because there's no city.
Now you have different infrastructure, because now you would have the sheriffs instead of the police, right? You'd have, if you're for law enforcement, you have sheriff, or do they contract? How does that work?
I'm not 100% sure, because the way how they structured, I think they communicate with the cities that next to them, because it's so complex. I'm telling you, two streets there, 10 streets there. So they, I think, work, and I'm not an expert, but I've seen police coming to those areas.
Sure.
They're coming from and I think they have some kind of contract or agreement that this area service all incorporated.
I've seen areas like that that'll use the sheriff's department for the cities. Like in Vegas, that's what they do. So the Las Vegas Sheriff's Department is the police department, but they must have some contract. I've seen that in Sacramento too. So it just depends on the jurisdiction and what they do. But continue.
And that's basically it. So I have a couple of properties that are for sale currently in Miami-Dade County, unincorporated. Both properties completely licensed for vacation rental. So you don't have to do your due diligence trying to figure out, oh my God, I'm going to buy there, but then what I'm going to do, can I do it or I can't do it? So I'm telling you, you can do it in Miami-Dade unincorporated. and
Yep.
there are two big also
And
properties
you have
that
two
are up
you have two of
so,
those for sale right now?
yeah.
And
Yes.
agkrealty.com, right?
If you go to agkrealty.com, you can pull one. It's 347 Northeast 110th Street.
Okay.
So that's one of it. And another one is going to be 787 Northeast 87th Street.
Great.
So the beautiful part about 110th Street, we just got permit for pool, for swimming pool. And if a buyer decides to build this pool, first of all, you're saving time on the permitting. And second of all, I already gave a down payment as of for $8,000. So person need to pay $8,000 less when he builds the pool.
Very cool. And now, what are the downsides? Those are the plus sides. What are the downsides of living unincorporated?
The downside, you kind of missing this feel of community, because cities, they like to organize different events. They have especially a good example, Coral Gables as a city has festivals, has foundations, has different galleries. It's always something happening, and you feel like you're part of this community. In unincorporated, you kind of missing this because county doesn't organize things like this. They don't do things like this. So you pick, look, there are people that don't have time for this. There are people that don't want that. Or if you're buying it as an investment, for vacation rental, so at this point, maybe it's not that important,
Yeah. What about schools?
It depends.
Yeah, what about schools?
Schools, good questions. It depends on where this area is assigned. You cannot say that, this unincorporated will be assigned to the same school. It's impossible because those two areas can be 30 miles away from it. Miami-Dade County is big. So one can be all the way down south, and another one can be, in, let's say, 110th Street area, and it's far away. And you can't assign kids to the same school. So it depends. It's an agreement with people and the cities right next to that unincorporated. Plus, we have, besides regular public schools now, especially, I don't know about other states, but in Miami, it's very common to have charter school. It's very common to have magnet schools, and it's a lot of them. So you don't necessarily want to go and bring your kid to regular public school.
Sure. No, totally agree. Great. Well, that's very important information. Good topic to build up. Go ahead.
I read the article, and I'm going to be very quick about this because it was a short article, but I want to, it's changing the subject. Want to analyze quickly today's market, because people call me like, Alina, when the market's going to go down? When the market's going to go down? When can we buy this property? So the article came out with the analytics of how many people secured their mortgages below 6%. And it shows that over 90% Americans secured their loan, their mortgage, at the low interest rate. What it means for today's buyer. Let's say I'm a cash buyer. I'm very excited because now finally the interest rate are up, and I don't care about the interest rate because I'm a cash buyer. So now the market is mine. Not that easy, because the market depends on demand, inventory. So the demand went down because not a lot of people willing to pay over 6% interest rate. You know it, you're in the business. But what about inventory? We don't have inventory. Why we don't have? Because over 90% people secure the interest rate below 6%. They don't want to sell. They say, okay, we're selling. What are we going to do? I hear that every single day. Yeah, I want to sell. I want to change. But what I'm going to do? People that secured the interest rate below today's interest rate, they're not idiots. They're not going to be selling. They will say, well, we will wait when the interest rate will go down, so then we can sell and buy something else. But then it's like a circle. You have the same problem. Then a lot of people want to buy now. So answering the question about when it's going to be a buyer's market, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, because we had a very, very low interest rate and everyone was refinancing. People was buying, and a lot of people secured 30 years interest rate.
Yeah,
So
you're absolutely correct. To your point,
the only options to build.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that people are going to sell if they want to. There's going to be a change of circumstance. What's their motivation? What's the reason? And I talked about this with another realtor partner of ours too. So it's the same challenge, is lack of inventory because everybody's holding on to that rate. So why would you want to get out of that? Because you're going to get less house for the same dollar. However, you also have equity that you've built up over that time. So you can, in theory, buy a bigger house and still, for the same amount of money, potentially be in a better house, but then you don't have access to it because there's less inventory. So it's kind of a catch-22, right?
It's yes, it's the
It's a
circle
vicious
that
cycle.
you can get out.
Exactly.
And the big problem also, that people thinking, okay, we're gonna have a pre-constructions, we're gonna have a new constructions, that's what's gonna solve the problem. Well, no one is talking about the inflation and how expensive the construction costs now.
Of course.
So you are looking here at like $1,000 per square foot right now.
Oh God, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's a new constructions. If you look at all these beautiful buildings that I was showing you, like 11, like the Avenue, they're all there. They're all close to, they around this number. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but they're there. So I feel really bad about, especially first-time buyers, especially young people that, they excited. That's finally like, I built my credit score, I can do it.
Yeah.
And you are in a very difficult position, and it's not going to be, I think there's no solution. That's what it is. It's going to be seller's market for a very long time.
Yeah, you're just going to have to find the right house that fits their budget at that point in time, and then they move up in the future. I mean, get in. I mean, it's still better than renting. So get into something at least and get in the game so you're not left behind in the future. All right. Ted's tech tip of the day. I actually, for the first time, Alina, have a guest on the show today. He's been patiently waiting in the wings. His name's Dean Bazzano. Dean Bazzano is a partner of mine in another business called Six Sigma Systems. We do business systems. We do systems for realtors, mortgages, and other businesses. This is the type of stuff you see the automations come through, the websites, front end, back end, all the data management, all these tools for posting ads. I've shared with them on the show in the past. Now, Dean is my partner. He's the expert in this stuff. And why is it important to bring Dean on? And let me turn on his camera here. There he is. Hey, Dean.
Hey there.
Thanks for waiting in the background patiently. Dean's also a fitness
man.
buff, and if you can tell, he's got his weight rack behind us because he's going to do some sets for us. And I'm teasing. So, why is it important to talk to Dean today? There are some regulations coming down regarding texting and calling contacts that have not agreed or consented to be contacted, and the fines and the regulatory stuff is getting tighter and tighter. So Dean's an expert authority in this stuff, and it's important, Alina, for our business, for what we do, to be aware of it. And then our clients, we deal with a lot of self-employed borrowers that have businesses that have leads, they buy leads. The days of getting a list of leads and contacting them without their approval are over. Even if they came into your website and they've contacted you and they haven't consented to be texted, can't necessarily go text them. It's really, really strict. So, Dean, if you don't mind, just give us I always do this to him, a 30-second introduction on your background, and then let's dive into this new law that's being put into place.
You used to start with a 2-minute introduction.
I
know. You upped it to a 1-minute introduction. Now it's 30 seconds.
And you know why I do that, Dean? Because no matter what I say, it's still 5 minutes.
Well, my background may not be as relative to the real estate industry here as it is to the technology industry that is the Six Sigma Systems entity that Ted and I are part of. And really, Ted's doing the same in the real estate industry that we have done for years in many other industries, is where we've vertically integrated into the technology that we use to drive a business or a system. I started my career with a company that many people don't no longer remember, called Arthur Andersen, but it was the predecessor that spurred Accenture, that's the largest consulting firm in the world. And I was a partner there. And during that time period, during the 80s, got in deep into some of the new computers that were coming out that time, where IBM was releasing their new computer systems. So been driving technology for that long, literally through business operations. Was part of a venture capital firm that I helped to manage during the and grow during the 90s. And during that time period, we did a lot of technology type work, a lot of technology startups, a lot of investing in the internet in the late 90s. And then in the 2000s, went almost full time into technology and digital marketing space, but actually was doing it in a couple different areas, including the health and fitness and some other business enterprises that we're working with as some of the first digital marketers that were around at that time 20 years ago. So we've literally been doing digital marketing and technology for 20 years and been doing technology for close to 40 in terms of interweaving it into businesses, which is what we're doing now for real estate and loan officers and a couple other industries that we're niching in.
Great. So let's talk about this. Yeah, that's excellent. So let's talk about why. Yeah. And then again, as always, it's never 30 seconds. It doesn't matter what I say. It's always going to be at least 2 minutes. I'm teasing. Well, no, Dean, your background is phenomenal. And I know you're just touching on the important part of it for today's conversation, but this A2P messaging regulations, what does that mean?
Well, let's start with what people do know, and then it'll make more sense. Everybody understands that somewhere in the past few decades, they've enacted laws which do not allow spammers to call you anytime they want and solicit from you, especially those of us that remember the really old days. You'd always get these phone calls when you sat down to dinner, and they became quite annoying. So the government created they actually had a Telephone Consumer Protection Act, but they amended it so that spammers couldn't call you on the telephone anytime they wanted to, unless they had a reason to transact business with you. And most of us are familiar with that as a do not call list. You're able to register your phone number on the do not call list, and theoretically they shouldn't call you. That doesn't always work, unfortunately, mainly because people don't check the do not call registry before they call you, because they're marketers, scammers that want to sell you or scam you. So it's hard to regulate that, but you can register complaints with the FCC, and they do go after people periodically for breaking that law. And that's the one we're most familiar with. Now we've got new laws. Since we've got mobile phones, not only do we get phone calls, but now we get text messages. And text messages used to be just from our friends and family or business associates, but more and more we're getting text messages now from spammers or from people trying to sell you stuff that do not have a personal relationship with you or a reason to contact you other than as a cold outreach to sell you something. Well, the government and the senators and the Congress in Washington, D.C. got pretty irritated with this and irritated listening to their constituency complain about it. So they went to the carriers and said, you got two choices: clean up, or we will regulate as part of the TCPA, and you can just follow the laws that we create. So the carriers decided that they would clean up and self-regulate themselves, as opposed to allowing the government to create more mandatory regulatory policy. What that meant was the carriers all got together and determined what is the best standard practice that everybody should be following for text messaging, what's allowed, what's not allowed. So A2P stands for application to person texting, or what we might know as automated messaging that's coming from a computer system. Add on to that what's called 10DLC. 10DLC is 10-digit long code. So you may recall years ago, most of your text messaging from large companies came from 5 or 6 digit short code numbers. But now with the advent of modern technology, we use the regular 10-digit code numbers to do text messaging. So put that together, you get A2P 10DLC, which is application to person texting using that 10-digit long code. So basically, that's a long way to say the computer system is automatically sending messages out on behalf of a company or entity or person using a 10-digit code. And that's typically what we get on our phones, and often ends up being spam or just, a salesman trying to sell us something. So the carriers have determined what the policies are that everybody is going to have to adhere to. And the important thing to understand here is that this is not law, it's carrier policy. In some respects, that's worse than law. If you break the laws, they will fine you. And that'd be bad. It could be thousands or millions of dollars. If you break the carrier policy, and I'm going to explain this to you in a minute, you may never be able to text again under your company, or you may have a difficult time ever getting permission again. The carriers unanimously are following these code of ethics and rules. And if you break them, they have the ability to completely block your text messaging and or revoke your privileges to text from any of your phone numbers.
And it's tied to your EIN number. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, the important thing is here, it's tied to your business. And that's what's really rough. You can't just, jump on a different number or, on some other carrier. This is a centralized database that all the carriers are participating in. So, and it is your company, your sole proprietorship, which I'll explain in a minute, or your business with an EIN that is registered with the carriers, with the centralized organization that all the carriers are subsidizing and paying for. And therefore, if you break the rules or you become a spammer or known spammer, you will not be able to register under your company EIN again and be able to, jump ship from Twilio to somebody else and think that you're going to somehow get around the fact that you broke the law, or broke the regulatory policies that the carriers have enacted. So in some ways it's worse, because if you can't even do regular text messaging to contact your clients to reconfirm an appointment, or to establish some minimal amount of contact that you need to convey information to, it's going to be a real problem for your business to compete with others that can. Think about an HVAC contractor who's he's texting you and maybe confirming an appointment or texting an invoice over to you. He's going to have to be registered. A realtor who's going to be, talking to somebody, Ted, you can talk about this a little bit as it relates to open houses. I know you guys use text messaging and QR codes for that, right?
Sure.
So,
traditionally, Dean, the way it works, and by the way, there's some background noise. If you guys, it's coming through pretty loud on the phone there. I think Dean's stirring his tea under the camera.
Yeah, it could be. This is actually not tea. This is actually a very special drink. It's got ginger and turmeric and apple cider vinegar and all kinds of good stuff.
And that's why Dean looks so young. So what it comes down to is this, Alina. You got to get consent from people to text them. If they come to your open house and they sign that registry, better do it digitally, where you have a digital record of it. And in there you have and I'm going to show you what this looks like. And this is just part of it, because you have to register a number.
So every person that I want to text to, he needs to give me a written consent.
Every person that you're texting to through an automated software system, your personal phone is already registered. Yep.
Yeah. So
automated.
Yeah. So the business that you and I Alina, you and I came together through a business called KV Core. That's how we got our. Yeah. We have an automated platform that we subscribe to, that when somebody contacts us on the website, it'll start sending the messages. And it's a very valuable tool for us and the consumer to have access to, because they want information and how we deliver it. But if you haven't came in and have this on your site and they don't click on this button here, well, in fact, you don't see my mouse. It says, yes, I accept. And you start texting them.
Accept, yeah.
You're subject to lawsuits. You're going to have these leech lawyers out there that can go sue people for contacting people. You cannot go back to your old database. We do a thing called database reactivation. You can't go back to your old database and say, hey, I got this new listing that I think you might like because you bought a house near the water that had a pool. Here's another one that might fit your needs. If you don't have consent from them, you can't text them, not from a business. And
but hold on a second. It's
we're
when you do automated.
We're mixing apples and oranges here a little bit. Because I started out talking about the TCPA, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. That's a law that has fines and you could be sued for. Whereas the campaign registry for phone numbers is a policy, a carrier policy. Okay. What Ted is showing you right now is comes under the TCPA, the law that says you cannot text somebody, with an automated system without getting their prior consent to do so under some sort of relationship you're establishing with them. So that kind of messaging automated messaging on your computer system will fall under the TCPA. Then there's this other carrier registry that if you don't register with them, you will not even be able to, you can collect all the phone numbers you want on that form. Your text isn't going to work. So there's two sides to this. There's the regulatory side, the law, and then there's the carrier side, which is who's giving you permission to actually text. They can filter, they can stop, they can revoke your privileges, take your phone numbers, they can do anything they want on that side. On the other side, the government can fine you for violating the TCPA. So we have to remember TCPA, government law, the campaign registry, carrier policy, and you have to follow both.
Yeah, we'll put a blog. We'll put a blog up. Sorry to cut you off there, Dean. We'll put a blog up that has more broken down in detail on our website that I'll share, and for future episodes too. But no, this is coming down in July, so it's important to understand.
What Ted is showing you is law today. What Ted is showing you, you have to have now, because it's existing law. But what campaign registry is a new policy coming down that starts July 5th. You need to be registered by July 5th. The carriers are going to start cutting off slowly or filtering messages from that point on through the end of August is the current plan. And if by the end of August you're not registered, you likely have a good chance that you just won't be able to text from any computer system, any kind of automated software system at all.
There's always WhatsApp. There's always WhatsApp.
It is, but the other people have to have WhatsApp, right? So you can't you can't force them to register for that, but they do have a phone and they have a number.
Yeah. So Dean, thank you. That's enough. I want to get the exposure out there. I want to make people aware because this is coming down. It's specific to what we do, Alina. I know you have a team of realtors. They have different tools. You and I use similar tools. Six Sigma Systems, we built it into our filtering system. When people register, we reroute them through on the back end to make sure that they get into the right group, if you will, to make sure that our clients don't make the mistake of contacting somebody via text. We don't allow them to. It'll filter them right out and the text won't even go out. It centers it for them.
One important thing to maybe mention is our software at Six Sigma Systems is compliant and that it has the ability to do the regulatory registration right on the back end of the system. So you can handle it right there. But most software systems have not changed, have not caught up with this, and the regulatory compliance is going to be very difficult. And there's a high likelihood you lose your ability to text during that period if you don't know what to do, if your software system isn't helping you.
So fun stuff. All right, guys. Well, hey, Dean, Six Sigma Systems, Alina Meledina, I'm Ted Hicks, Real Estate Mortgage Insiders. Have a great day, everybody.